Good afternoon, everyone. It is approximately 1 p.m. here in Chicago, Illinois. We have over 60 institutions joining us today, including Drexel University, Temple University, San Jacinto College, Northwest Missouri State University, Youngstown State University, and several other institutions who've dialed in today for this session. I'd like to thank everyone for your presence. Setting the agenda for today's session, QuickLaunch would like to showcase a robust, intuitive, and self-serviceable platform for automating access control and identity lifecycle management, aiming for the quickest deployment time at the lowest cost possible. Our key presenter for today's webinar is Carl Horwath, CIO of LaSalle University, and Neeraj Kent, CEO of QuickLaunch. Welcome, Carl, for joining this session. I hope you can hear me well.
I can hear.
Carl, can you hear me?
Thank you, and thanks for everyone who is attending. Great to talk with you today. And I will tell you a little bit about our experience over the past few months in implementing this solution. Well, we're LaSalle University, and we're in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And we enroll over 5,000 students, undergraduate and graduate. And we offer, we're a liberal arts institution, and we offer traditional classes, online, hybrid courses, variety of different programs, as many institutions do. We have a number of applications that we support in IT, including our student information system, which is Banner. We just upgraded to Banner 9, which is the latest version. And we have a variety of other different applications, like our learning management system, which is Canvas. And we use the Microsoft Office 365 for our email and for our work applications like Word, Excel. So we have pretty standard systems. But as you can imagine, these systems were implemented over time. Just like our telephone system, which we transitioned from the traditional phone system to voice over IP several years ago, these systems grew up independently. And over time, they all have their own login, their own authentication. And while we try to keep them similar, we really didn't have a single solution that would tie them all together. So you can imagine the challenges that we face in IT in supporting each of these applications that we have on campus separately, especially from the IT support perspective, in terms of the amount of support calls we would get, and each support call will be unique to the system. It's also difficult for our end users. Our end users are students and faculty and employees, and also trying to make the user experience as efficient as possible for them was our goal. We've all started with onboarding, just getting students, faculty, and staff as new employees coming into the university, where there would be significant delays, data entry issues, accuracy on data entry issues, timing. So people would be coming and not to the university and starting their engagement here without the proper account or credentials or access to systems that they needed to do their job or complete the degree. So we really faced a problem which put a lot of work on the IT department. There are many applications that we had to maintain on a daily basis, and every app had a separate login screen. And users, speaking of the user experience, had to remember multiple passwords. And we had to manage multiple passwords on the back end, which was a lot of work for IT. So how do we tie together all these critical and major systems into one easy-to-access authentication solution? We looked at many different solutions to get to where we are today. But the second biggest problem was that users were forgetting their applications, their passwords, and that generated thousands of calls to the help desk. You can imagine the number of interactions that we've had just to change passwords, and I'm sure many of your institutions also experience similar issues in that our number one IT stat for the help desk is always change password or authentication problem. And it can be a variety of different issues that causes them, but certainly, authentication was always an issue. And it could be just because they forgot the password, or they know the password for the learning management system, but forgot it for our student information system. So it was a lot of chaos and a lot to manage for us as decision making came up in terms of, well, which system do we work on first to make that as user friendly as possible. And no matter what we did to the systems, no matter what documentation or training that we put out there for our end users, it really wasn't as good as forgetting all of that information and having one way to authenticate. Big strain on our help desk and also our back-end support. The other issue was students that were coming in that are new students and not having their credentials so they could begin their courses. And I'm talking about some of these specialized programs like online learning and the hybrid classes and adult learning that were outside of our traditional full-time undergraduate students. Sometimes these students were treated a little bit differently in the system. We have, and our system consisted of, to create accounts, consisted of code that was written about 20 years ago by somebody that had left a long time ago. And so we didn't have the institutional knowledge to modify and update that script. And not too many folks in IT were ready to kind of jump in and try to modify it because people were afraid they would break it. And then we would have a bigger problem. So it was a complex script that was many lines of code that had been altered over many years. And so really was not able to be supported. And it was legacy code written on old systems. And we did our best to upgrade the systems to run the code. So one problem led to another as far as our ability to modify the way we created accounts. This custom code, although it provided some automation in creating accounts, it was not a total solution. For instance, we couldn't easily change passwords. People had to come to our campus to change their password because it was tied in with the local network campus. So they really couldn't change it for many systems at home, for example, or if they were traveling abroad. So they had to be very vigilant about when passwords changed. And we would send out a notification well in advance, and inevitably people wouldn't get to change their password, and then they would be caught off campus or abroad without being able to access their resources. So that was also another limiter in terms of people being able to complete their degree or do their work on campus. It also, again, generated significant amount of help desk and IT support requests. So we really had a lack of automation and the ability for the end user to control their own accounts and credentials. Again, I mentioned the multiple login screens that were all over campus. Although we had a portal, every time you clicked on a different resource, you would get a different interface and a different way to authenticate yourself into that resource. So we really started to search for a solution that could ease a usable solution for our end users and ease the support that was required from IT, especially during our high times of fall and spring semester, and then also even now summer and some of our programs that ramped up, there was a lot of support required over the summer. We looked at a number of single sign-on solutions that are available in the market. Needless to say, many of those are very expensive and many are complex, possibly over-complex for our environment. So one thing is that we were able to talk with QuickLaunch, who approached us with an identity and access management solution. And you know, they talked to us not in terms of technical in the beginning. It was really in terms of transforming the user experience. And that is so upfront for us in the IT department as we work with all the different divisions around campus. We also don't want to talk about strictly, you know, the technology part of what, people expect, because a lot of times we'll be approached and say, hey, I have this technology problem, but it's not that. It's a workflow problem. It's a user interaction problem, and we really like to approach our problem from that direction instead of trying to prescribe the technology first. And that's what QuickLaunch did with us with their identity and access management solution. It was really about how do we make the user experience better? How do we ease the load on the IT department so we can focus on other projects? So they provided us with a one-stop login experience. And the best part is that we would be able to remember, users would be able to remember one password and one username for all applications across the university. And so everybody was very happy with the prospect of that, especially our IT help desk, who, our number one statistic was changing passwords and authentication problems. But basically, the QuickLaunch solution really we were able to turn the way that we were supporting authentication and account creation toward the user, so they had much more control and it made more sense to them. And we were able to create accounts before users got on campus. So when they arrived, they were ready to work on the system. We were able to provision users, automatically instead of manually creating them, where we had a banner to Active Directory authentication process. And it consumed a lot of time for everybody across IT. The good thing about QuickLaunch is that this is all now automated. And the other rising issue with us, and I'm sure with many of your institutions, was IT security. IT security is a big concern, especially for the users of our systems, such as our student information systems, where some of the most sensitive information about our end users is contained. And we have people who work in these systems that are allowed to authenticate into them. And we really need a solution for protecting those accounts. We are all experiencing, I'm sure, phishing attacks, and they've really been increasing, among other threats, cybersecurity threats that continue to rise in our institutions. And taking protections against these threats is critically important and part of the QuickLaunch solution. So one thing we've been able to immediately identify and launch for our critical users is multi-factor authentication. And we have started with a program where we've given them tokens so they can authenticate with their regular credentials and use the tokens for an extra layer of protection. This has grown into a much bigger project. And as we socialize the idea of multi-factor authentication across the entire university, we will be rolling it out for every student, staff, and faculty member across our campus. I think that, this helps kind of introducing it with our core group of users that touch our most important and sensitive information on campus. And we didn't have the capability to do that before. It's much easier with QuickLaunch at this time. The great thing about QuickLaunch also is that it's intuitive, it's secure, it's usable and efficient, and it's all wrapped up into one package. It's really, I'm looking at my help desk stats now, and I see how password management has dropped down to number 2, and it continues to decrease. And as people get more used to being able to manage their own, account and their own password. Now they will have the ability to change their password and manage their account. We can also provision accounts that are role specific. Instead of assigning roles to students, faculty, and staff after the account's been created manually. They're now automatically assigned based on who they are and in the system. So the great thing about QuickLaunch was they sat and worked with us on the user experience, but also worked through each one of these roles and how they would interact as people started their experience with our university. And it is all about the experience, how they would be easily able to access the resources that they would need, not just one time, but all the time. So, you know, it's been a success. We're very happy we did that. I think the other part of this is there's two major things for me, is that they really helped us obtain a enterprise single sign-on solution at a reasonable price that we could afford as an institution. And they took the time to work with us to really understand our environment. I mean, we're all different as institutions, but we're all kind of the same too, especially we use the same type of technology. But they really took the time to get to know our institution, our users, and our IT department, and how that whole dynamic works. So we could improve the bigger picture of how we provide identity and access management. So it's been a very good experience. We're very happy we did it. And we are looking forward to continued successes and unlocking other features from QuickLaunch in the future. That's about it. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Carl. That was an insightful session. It is gratifying to hear that LaSalle University is loving our product. Now, I'd like to invite Neeraj Kant, the CEO of QuickLaunch, to demonstrate how QuickLaunch has helped LaSalle University automate user provisioning from banner to Active Directory. Over to you, NK.
Thank you, Russell. Good afternoon, everyone. And I would like to welcome you all on behalf of QuickLaunch. Interesting times at QuickLaunch. Last year, during our conference, a lot of institutions came to us and they started asking us that, can QuickLaunch stand on its own 2 feet, and instead of just behaving as an identity provider, can we really do provisioning, deprovisioning? I see today Louis is on the call. He's been on many conferences with QuickLaunch. He's our existing member, and we've got quite a few other new members who have joined in today. And this drive came to us specifically from banner institution, because most of them, some of them were using banner back in those days, LMG, LMB. There was BEIS, which got renamed to EIS, and then that journey continued. As of today, they have Ethos. I do see Lewis University on the call. They're using Ethos. So this journey is not ending, resulting in institutions now migrating towards solutions like Okta. Again, I take the example of Lewis University. Looks like they're also implementing Okta, interestingly, for password reset. So, and again, identity is a pretty big realm. And we, as QuickLaunch, we've been serving institutions for over 7 years now. Our envisioning was that, can we step in and do provisioning, deprovisioning really well? Russell mentioned flip a switch. That's the theme, which is, can we go codeless? Because most of you, I see the poll results as well, you're using custom scripts. They're difficult to maintain. Auditors can come in and have issues tomorrow because of the processes involved in those custom scripts. And obviously, you don't have budgets right now to implement SailPoint, which starts at $1 million, or Fisher International, which takes 9 months minimum to implement. So today we're going to talk about how can we get you to QuickLaunch and literally do a flip a switch and get you live in less than a week and solve the problem which we're seeing in higher education. So let's go through some problem before we talk about solutioning those problems. So journey starts as an applicant. I'm applicant. I would like to go to Lewis University. I'm going to fill the form. one fine day I'll be from a prospect, I'll become an applicant. I'll apply, I'll pay my fee, and as the process commences, I'll basically become a student. So journey of a prospect, becoming an applicant, becoming a student. Where's that information going? That's all going in your student information system. Most of the schools today are banner schools, so it's going into your banner. But folks who are PeopleSoft colleagues, we have solutions for you as well. When that happens, here comes provisioning, which either is currently happening using your custom scripts. Most of you stated you're using custom scripts. Some of you might be doing it manually, which I don't anticipate, and some of you might be spending lots and lots of dollars on maintaining, managing technologies like Forefront Identity Manager, Microsoft Identity Manager, so on and so forth. So that's the area of concern we're going to look at solving today. But with that, you obviously push that account in Active Directory using your scripts or again using your tools. What happened next, which we are very familiar with? You all sent a welcome letter saying, hey, MK, welcome to Lewis University. Here is your user ID, and could be that here is your password. You might be sending them the password. We have seen that happening. Or you might be giving them the magic recipe of what that password needs to be. Both of these cases are not good. We should not do that. And we're going to look at today how our provisioning engine is also going to solve that problem. Last but not the least, once that problem is solved, how can we get that account to your learning management system, to your email system, to your library system, and miscellaneous systems? This discussion is not just about Banner to Active Directory. Each one of you are spending time pushing course information from Banner to your learning management system. Can we also provide that to you, get you a one-stop environment to deal with? Last but not the least, we believe that we owe you a forgot password and help you resetting the password with all the bells and whistles which comes with a true multi-factor system. And what I'm trying to position ourselves as is how can QuickLaunch truly behave as one stop so that you don't have to implement, number one, ethos, number two, CAS, number three, technologies like Okta, One Login, and number four, specifically, how can we get you off your custom script? That's the envisioning and journey that we're going to demonstrate to you all today as part of our product demonstration. So let's get going. We'll show you all hands-on. I'm not going to, from here on in, use slide deck, so I'm just going to get that off. And I'm going to use real systems, show you some real data, show you provisioning in action. And we're going to look at spending 20 minutes on that, then we'll get into the Q&A. So I'm playing my screen again. You should see a PHP admin. Consider this is your banner system or PeopleSoft or colleagues. This should look really familiar to you all. Here comes Active Directory. And this should also look familiar to you. This is your current login screen, whatever solutions you're using, but QuickLaunch is also going to help you replace those. So if I go to quickly, Lewis, if they don't mind, they're using Blackboard. They also have My Lewis, which is actually using Ethos identity for single sign-on, and I'm sure they've then separately spent a fair bit of dollars implementing Okta for password reset. So here comes their Okta. And I strongly feel it's a little disconnected in regards with user experience. I'm going to look at also helping today on how can we provide first-in-class user experience to our clients who are students, obviously in higher education. So let's look at coming up with a story. I'm going to use Lewis as an example. He's on the call from one of our institutions. I'm going to create a record for him today. And let's see how that provisioning happens. So I just paused my screen. I'm going to take Lewis, user ID, and look at pushing that into my banner system. So here comes Lewis. I'm giving him a unique identifier. Story is pretty simple. I'm creating a student. And I want you to see how fast provisioning is going to kick in. So, and I've given Louis my personal email, my phone number, just so that I can show you all the bells and whistles. And here comes the record for Louis. So Louis is created. Here is Louis, and I've basically made him student, so that I can explain you the concept as well. What should have happened by now that account should have moved to Active Directory. Here you go. And Louis, I apologize, I did not put the last name, and I do want to create that as a problem and then solve it. So here is Louis in Active Directory. I have first name, I've used the same last name. It created automatically full name. And provisioning, folks, is all about what is going to be the user ID. In banner terminology, it is the GOP-TPAC external user, LDAP user. You guys know those terms really well. So what is the magic behind creating a SAM account name or a user principal name for the user? I got my personal email, my mobile from banner to Active Directory, home run. Point that I want you to take a note of is I did not give a password to Louis. So let's see what could have happened if Louis is going passwordless, right? So let's look at how is QuickLaunch really uplifting your user experience. Can we do custom attributes from banner to Active Directory? 100%. Can your users have different rules for generating user IDs for student, staff, and faculty? Absolutely. Can we do group membership? There you go. Louis is student. Can users have multiple hats for the groups? Yes. All of that is possible, and you're going to love the administrative module when we reach that stage. Watch what happens. You guys currently use your admissions department. They send welcome letters. None of that is needed. It says, Dear Louis, congratulations, your account is active with, let's say, Louis University. Your login ID is Louis. I'm going to copy that. Click here for registration. And folks, that click here is your first interaction as a student with, let's say, Louis University. This page is going to be branded for you by you. All the logos, color combination is going to come, but this is where you start. You don't have to go to a login page, figure out registration. I'll give you a link over an email to you as a student. So let's get going. I'm saying, okay, I'm Louis. I just copied that user ID. System says, hey, I know you're Louis, either from your email or SMS. Which one would you want to use? And I'm saying, let's rock and roll with SMS. So I just clicked on SMS, and truly, this is not provisioning, right? Now I'm using some cool multi-factor authentication, which comes built in. Here comes one-time token on my cell phone. I just put my phone on ringer so that you all can hear the phone ringing. And I just provided one-time token. Now, this is significant, guys. Using provisioning, we sent this user a welcome letter. User used multi-factor, which means you don't need tools like Duo to provide you multi-factor. We have that built in, and now system is challenging me that, hey, Louis, rock and roll, set up a password for yourself. So I can now create my own password, which means you don't have to give a default password. You don't have to worry about security. You don't have to make them change password when they log in for the first time. Rather, you're making it secure yet simple. And finally, I am being given the opportunity to see the login page of, let's say, Louis University, for which you don't need ethos. It would also come in out of the box with QuickLaunch. And what I'm going to do is let's log in to Louis University as user Louis. And as soon as I log in, you would see all the single sign-ons. They're going to appear on the screen. So pretty much not just provisioning, how can we also give you all of the applications which you as a student should be seeing, starting from banner to register for classes, your learning management system, you're using Gmail versus Office 365. All these applications are not only getting provision, they would also be then visible depending upon who this user Louis is. I hope that helps understand my journey as a student. I'm going to log out. And let's continue provisioning discussion. What I want to do next is, let's imagine it's been 3-4 years, Lewis has graduated and is continuing with Lewis University as faculty. So let's figure out where user Lewis is. Lewis is right here. Click on edit and change the role, because that's one of the things that you guys do and would want to see what happens when there is a role change. So I just made Lewis staff. He's no longer student. Go. And Lewis, who's actually on the call today to answer your question on real time, watch the screen. I'm just going to refresh you. Here comes Lewis. Here comes member of. Here comes staff. So it is technically not even taking a second. It's real time, and it's pushing that change not just into Active Directory, but let's see where all. So I'm going to go back to my example, log back in as Lewis, and watch what happens. So I'm deviating a little bit intentionally from the topic of provisioning, but folks, look what just happened. I tried logging in, system detected a risk on Lewis. Let's figure out why. And as soon as it detected, it is now challenging me to prove I'm truly Lewis. So great thing, you don't have to buy another tool. It's built in with provisioning at no additional dollar. And if you use QuickLaunch for your single sign-on as well, instead of using ethos, you don't have to, firstly, maintain, manage ethos. Secondly, all your applications would use QuickLaunch. Thirdly, will empower you with a true adaptive authentication. So at this point in time, system wakes up and says, I don't trust you, Lewis, prove this is you. Why? Because this device is not even added as a trusted device. So pretty good. I'm going to put that code back in. And obviously, I can then opt in to remember this device, or I might not want to opt in for that. And look at the user experience. It is totally different, because as staff, some of the applications are de-provisioned. Some of the applications got provisioned. So depending upon what business process you have, each one of you are going to be different. We can cater to your business processes and do provisioning, de-provisioning, using truly flip a switch concept, which I'm going to show you from an administration console as well. Let's log out. Let's complete the story. I picked up Lewis University today as an example, and I mentioned they have a forgot password separate. Let's look at our forgot password. It gives you the same look and feel, which makes your user experience better, and it then prompts me to enter username, and here comes same factors yet again. So now I have the same factors, which means if I'm being challenged, I'm using same factor, then I opt in to recall my username because I forgot my username, same factors. When I'm trying to reset my password, same factors. So it becomes a blessing, because another problem which we want each one of you to solve for yourself with our help is number of calls going to your help desk. They would obviously increase if you have 7 different platforms running and they're not connected, resulting in users having separate set of questions for, let's say, resetting their passwords, and then Duo has separate measures to enable true multi-factor authentication. So folks, that's the quick high level in regards with what a QuickLaunch has to offer you, how seamlessly it gels in together with all of the bits and pieces, starting from single sign-on to password reset to multi-factor to adaptive. Most importantly, the governance on user provisioning, deprovisioning. And one of the things that I want to talk about is we are not limited to email and SMS. If you like security questions, we can get them done for you. If you like Touch ID, hard tokens like YubiKey, Google Authenticator, we can get that done for you. So we can add as many factors as you want, and most importantly, you could also implement different factors for different constituents in your campus. So use case could be folks who are having keys to the kingdom. We really care about them going through a bare minimum 2 factors. That's the right way to think. But if we make our doors too tight, too complicated for students, at the end of the day, they'll be lost in translation. They're going to call you. They'll request for a password reset, and that's not something which we want them doing. So again, a lot of emphasis there. I'm going to quickly segue looking at the time into reports. There's lots and lots of reports which comes with QuickLaunch. We care about you knowing from where the users are coming in. And if you don't like, can we blacklist, let's say, Colombia, Brazil, whoever city, country. Idea is that I want you to have your eyes on the platform and envision that there could be a potential account takeover coming from a country, city, state, and you might want to have geo enabled for your institution. What applications are being used the most? What browsers and devices are being used the most? Who's accessing from those applications? How can we give you those reports? Is something which comes out of the box with QuickLaunch. Let's take it to the next level. We talked about single sign-on. I'm going to go into password reset and show you the reports there, and then we'll talk about obviously provisioning, deprovisioning, admin console as well. So here comes password manager report, and what you're going to see is, again, lots of insights in regards with who has changed their password successfully, who has failed to change, why have they failed to change. And what you would see is it will also give you metrics of, is SMS working really well or not, because that should have 100% reliability provided we have phone numbers. So that also gives your help desk the ability to monitor and maintain which factors are really working for institution like you all, and you might have different answers to it. There's no one successful mantra towards what is the best factor. At times, we have to figure that out as we implement, because your relay might choke. You might have international students, and you might need support to have multiple SMS countries supported, which we have obviously figured that out for you as well. So again, there could be there could be different requirements for each one of you as well. Some of you might want to use truly hard tokens for your administrators to help protect what they do as part of their job roles as well. So you might want to implement hard tokens and things of that nature. Let's continue. We'll show you now how did I provision users when it comes to QuickLaunch from banner to Active Directory. I'm just going to log into admin console. I've just paused my screen for a few seconds, and I'll show you how that's going to work out. So folks, the journey is going to start on the same administrative console by giving you a list of all the connectors which you might want to use or which you have configured already. So for example, it's going to be a one-time setup for you to configure Active Directory. And this green, which you saw me having in there, was telling you that AD is up and running. Otherwise, this would go red, which is great because you do care about knowing, is my destination dead? Yeah, because of which your users are not even getting created. So that's a great way to understand. But let's look at the magic which I was talking about. So here comes, let's say, banner to AD. I truly call this platform as integration platform as a service. And I use this term, flip a switch or go codeless. So what it says is, okay, you are Lewis University, give me a connection name. You could simply say Lewis banner to AD or test banner to test AD. And then you could say, cool, I'm going to move. So this is where we've done things really different compared to your custom script. What is the username, which is your SAM account name, which could be coming in from GovTPAC external user? Where should I map it? Here's my AD schema. Great. So I can just simply also create a new attribute on the fly. How do I generate email addresses? Is it username at? Do I need to use first character of username, then last name? Should I put a magic number if the same attribute or user ID exists? So platform is really flexible is what I'm trying to tell you in regards with mapping these objects on the fly and defining which one are required, which one are unique, and you can obviously add a new one with just one thing. So pretty easy. And you could also define if is it as is or are you going to do a custom transformation and all that. Most importantly, as soon as you go to groups, which is one of the pain points I've seen across all the implementations we've done so far, where should students be going? Where is staff going to go? What if you have thousands of groups on the left which is coming from Banner? What if you have a scenario wherein somebody is a student or a staff or a student and staff both? What happens if I can handle multi-affiliation? So if you're a student and staff and you tell me create a new group called as two staff, it's a new name I just came up with, can we support that? Absolutely, yes. We can do all that as well. We can continue to move using attribute updates real time. A lady gets married, surname gets updated. Can we handle that? Yes. What happens if the object in Banner is set to be disabled? It's not active. Should I disable network access? Should I remove that account from 80 in 30 days? Should I move them into OU disable? Should I move them into OU alumni? You would each have different answers to my statement that I just made, and we'll work with each one of you to understand what should we do based on the requirements that you have. And the idea is to not go across all the universities and give you a customized solution. We believe in giving you a configurable solution so that we can achieve this purpose and yet bring the power of each one of you by giving you all the configurations so that we can reuse those configurations instead of having to live in a bubble of giving QuickLaunch a lot of money on professional services. We really want to move away from that. Whatever we do, it's going to be added to the platform, and it's that simple that we're not talking about spending 1,000 man hours on implementing this particular solution for you. Here comes the email template, easy to govern, easy to configure. If there is a student account getting created, updated, modified, all the changes can be handled, and that email notification can be sent as well. For certain situation, would you want to write back to Banner? There could be various situations. You might want to use Microsoft Object GUID, which gets generated in AT, and you want to write that back in Banner. You might be one of the schools who's not creating user ID in Banner. You might want AT to pick that up and then write that back under GovC Pack external user. Can we do that? Absolutely, yes. We can do all 9 yards. Is it real time? Am I going to do 30 minutes, hourly? We don't recommend any of that. We recommend real time. And you saw me making the changes real time. So folks, that's a quick overview. I would say 30,000 feet overview in regards with how we're doing provisioning, deprovisioning. We're really proud. We've taken it to the next level. We've taken schools live in less than even 3 weeks by implementing everything on test and staging and then rolling the changes into production. So the platform is really intuitive. And most importantly, what I want to tell you with the presentation is, if you take provisioning, everything else is pre-included. Should you get rid of ethos today? Not needed. Eventually, you can do that. Or if you may decide, let's do that as step one, we could do that as well. But it's going to give you, you'll be able to divest from the investments you've made in password resets. If you're thinking about spending 10 grand with Duo security, it's built in. You don't have to do that. And all the custom work, all the resources you're currently doing custom scripts, all that time and effort can be saved. And most importantly, this is going to complement your help desk really, really well and reduce the volumes which comes to your help desk. So that's basically, folks, what we wanted to cover on the call today. I'm going to hand it over back to Russell and see if there are any questions at this point in time from anyone who has joined this webinar. Russell, back over to you. Let's open it up for Q&A.
Thank you, NK. The attendees can now type their questions onto the question pane.
So we do have a first question, which talks about, can we do even learning management system provisioning? The question is from a school, they're using Desire to Learn. So the answer is yes. We can provide you with even learning management system provisioning. They're not at all limited to doing provisioning from just student information system to Active Directory. You can absolutely do your learning management system provisioning. And as I'm talking, I'm trying to navigate to one of our schools, National Louis University, to show you what we've done specifically for Desire to Learn, and then obviously we have that available for Canvas and for lots of other learning management systems. So yeah, starting from SIS to Active Directory to Learning Management System to Office 365 and Google, QuickLaunch can take ownership of basically provisioning all the accounts for you. And I'm trying to pull the example up. I thought it'll be good to show that to you. So what you see now on the screen is National Lewis in production with enrollments or students, instructor, user creation, course creation, the cross-listing, unenrollment. There's a lot going on. So we can basically cover all the scenarios for you. I hope that answers your question. The next question that we have is, when I say password reset, is QuickLaunch storing passwords? So the answer is no, we're not in the business of storing passwords at all. We like you all keeping the passwords. We'll be doing resets real time back into your Active Directory. So yes, we will never be storing passwords ever within QuickLaunch. We do have another question. Do we have integrations with Banner 9? Yes, you have many options. You can do CAD, you can do SAML. So pretty much Banner 9, starting from App Navigator to admin pages, we're very familiar with Banner. And 99.9% of our institutions typically are Banner institutions, Ellucian being a big player. So yes, we do have all those connectors available out of the box, and you don't need Ellucian support. We are the one who will be doing these integrations for you. All right. There's a follow-up question. Do we need ethos? No, you do not. And folks, let me make it really clear. QuickLaunch itself is identity provider, so you don't need ethos. Most importantly, you also don't need your existing GAS and SHIB and ADFS and shibboleth environments. We are the one-stop identity provider for you. So this would certainly help you divest. Why do you need to maintain, manage ethos versions and GAS versions if we can provide you all those services up in the cloud? So yes, we do have all that available. I do see another question. Do we have features like biometric for multi-factor? That's a great question. And again, in last many years, this request has not come in. We would love to partner with you. Currently, as I stated, we have security questions, email, SMS, YubiKey. In next month or so, we're also launching mobile app push notifications just to further streamline and provide easy access to the students. And then we're also launching Call Me. So if you feel you need biometric integrations, we can certainly work with you and get those going as well. As a matter of fact, we've been evaluating quite a few companies like BioKeys and all to identify who fits the bill, because at the end of the day, we want to make it cost inexpensive as well as secure for you. Any other questions from the attendees who have joined today's webinar presentation? We're just going to wait for 30 more seconds in case if there are any other questions. There's another question, what is the pricing? What we're going to do is, I would really appreciate if you could write to info@quicklaunchsso.com. Let's schedule a one-on-one meeting with you and tell you the pricing. And if you go to our website as well, the prices are there. So we typically start all in at a $10 per user per year list price, which includes all 9 yards, starting from SSO, identity, password reset, multi-factor, and most importantly, automated provisioning. So that's our list price. Again, I'll be happy to work with each one of you, understand your existing identity landscape, and see what discounts can be offered to you to get you all rolling on the platform. But from a list price, we're $10 per user per year, all in. I hope that answers your question. Any other questions, folks? All right, I feel there are no other questions. What we're going to do is we're going to looking at wrapping up the meeting. I would like to again thank each one of you for taking our time. We hope this webinar was insightful. We'll be sending the webinar recording to each one of you. Again, feel free to go to quicklaunchsso.com and start your trial now, which is available forever. And you can leverage, test, and once you feel confident, we believe in de-risking your investment and you got to feel confident about product making sense. So please configure it, test it. If you get stuck somewhere, do not hesitate. Again, send us a notification at info@quicklaunchsso.com and we shall be happy to help you. Thank you, everyone. This is QuickLaunch team signing off. You all have great rest of the